How do you design game mechanics that promote good behavior? And it's just a matter of making the bad behavior not fun. Or like ineffective or not fun. Like save scumming. So the way to discourage save scumming is to make really long load times. It's like if it takes you 5 minutes to load a game. I always take GTA 5 as a good example. I love GTA Online. Oh yeah? I haven't played GTA Online. But the community ruined it for me. So I've still haven't bought GTA 5. Then they added more ways to troll. Well, maybe the trolls pay more money than you do is the problem. And you hate it even more now. I do get the impression that what are they called? The developers? I do get the impression that they do pander to trolls a little bit. Every DLC is more vehicles with guns. Rockstar. Yeah, I do get the impression that Rockstar does pander to the trolls a little bit. I mean, it is GTA after all. It's not supposed to be polite civilization. It's supposed to be crime and mayhem. But again, like, you choose, like, as a developer, as a game developer, you choose how your game will be. Like, it's not a thing, like, you can't just blame the players. But they added so much cool stuff to do in online, but the trolls ruin it. Oh, have I mentioned? I feel like some video games do that to make people spend more money. There's a hypothesis I have that negative experiences make people spend more money than positive experiences. I don't know if you've thought about whether you think this is true. So consider all the free-to-play mobile games and things. Are you more likely to get people to spend money to feel less bad, or are you more likely to get them to spend money to feel more good, right? Like, would you make more money if the game is just fine and you spend more money and you feel happier? Or would you spend more money if the game is bad, like a bad experience or like a negative experience, but you spend money to remove the negative experience? I guess it's kind of true, but not for me personally. Well, yeah, not for me personally either, but then I don't spend any money in free-to-play games. If I like a game, I'm inclined to spend money on. If I feel bad, I stop. That's also true for me, Wesley. But I don't spend very much money on the games, even if I do spend money on it, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas the people who I don't know, I'm trying to find a polite way to say it, but there isn't. The people who are more inclined to be manipulated by this sort of thing, I feel like, are the people who are willing to spend money to feel less bad. It's kind of abusive, right? It's not the most it's not the most ethical way to make money. It's kind of like extortion. We're back to extortion again. Like, are you more inclined to spend money on me if if I'm a legitimate service provider, or if I punch you a lot and I say, okay, I'll stop punching you if you pay me money. That's extortion. Extortion is I punch you and I say, if you pay me money, I'll stop punching you. I feel like the extortion is more likely to make more money than the legitimate business. Yeah, it's bad, but it does make sense, right? And unfortunately, I feel like some of these game monetization models have become a kind of emotional extortion, where they make you feel inadequate, they make you feel like, you know, you're not good enough, but they say, ah, but if you pay a bit of money, you can feel a little less inadequate. But they need to keep making you feel inadequate in order to kind of pump more money out of you. So it never ends, it's a temporary relief from the negativity of the game. And of course the people who don't fall into that trap, they just stay away. But that's not the problem. Like if you stay away, that's fine. It's the people who don't know to stay away, they get stuck in the trap. And just keep paying and paying and paying. And it's not even for entertainment, they're just paying because they want to feel less bad. Q says, I don't think so. That theory only works for mandatory activities. The free-to-plays that work profitably are good games anyway. I don't think so, Q. I think some people get emotionally caught up in a trap. Like they form a habit. It's habit forming. I mean, I'm talking about things that are similar to gambling addictions, Q. It's like you form a habit where you become emotionally attached to a thing that's actually negative. So Heroes of the Storm is a bad experience when you don't play. But Heroes of the Storm is not what I'm talking about. Okay, look, Heroes of the Storm, the loot boxes, you know I don't buy it. You know I don't spend any money in Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, it can be true for some people, but I think you're trying to make a point. No, I'm not. Okay, let's clarify that. I'm not talking about the majority of players. I'm talking about a minority of players who can be manipulated into paying a lot of money. Is what I'm talking about. We should clarify that. I'm not saying a majority of people. In fact, a majority of people would just stay away from these things. Like gambling, like a majority of gamblers just casually play a few bucks or like $50 and then they stop. It's the minority of people who get caught in that trap and then they spend a lot of money. That's the problem part. Q says, okay, well, you started off asking whether game publishers would make more money one way. Yeah, no, but I guess to clarify that then, would you make more money pumping a lot of money out of a few vulnerable people, or do you make more money making a game that is good for most people and getting less money out of each person? I guess is how I would rephrase that. I mean, if you get $1,000 out of one person, or you get $1 out of 1,000 people, you make $1,000 either way. More people, less per, I would say then. But the other way is also a viable strategy, right? It's also a viable business model to pump a lot of money out of a few people. Games rely on goodwill and lots of people playing. I mean, some games do. True, viable, but we're hopefully talking about real world games here, no? I mean, hmm. Q says, and I can't think of any bad games that are still profitable because they're good after you pay to win. But they're not good, is what I'm trying to say. Though Hearthstone fits for me sometimes. Pay to win. I mean, see, again, Hearthstone. See, we're the kind of people who are happy to just mess around at rank 20. And so Hearthstone doesn't really get much money out of us, right, you? But you know, if you go to forums, you see a lot of people, well, not a lot, I mean, a lot of people. There are plenty of posts that complain about Hearthstone being pay to win and how many hundreds of dollars they have to pay if they want to be competitive. So, I mean, people talk about this a lot. Like, there's a lot of people who keep saying, oh, this is a pay to win, pay to win. And we just, I mean, I just have a different mentality in that I don't really need to win in Hearthstone, which comes back to like for the people who feel like they need to win, then they get sucked into having to pay hundreds of dollars every expansion. If you feel like you need to win, right? So Hearthstone is still fun for me because I'm not the kind of person who falls into that trap of needing to win and therefore having to spend more money all the time. Q says, yeah, Hearthstone does seem to be an exception in this way. Wesley says, which is why I think it's a majority that falls into it, not a minority. You think a majority of people feel the need to win? I mean, it's complicated, right? Let me just kind of try to clarify. But then I can't understand its popularity for the net decking area, says Q. Hearthstone, I mean, net decking in Hearthstone, it doesn't take that much money to build one good net deck, right? Like I could do it just spending like 1,000 dust. Like if I play as much as I do, which is just the daily quest every day, and let's say the net decks, there's like, you know, 12 or 20 different net decks, I could build a tier 3 deck, which is not very good, I suppose. It's legendary quality, but I could accumulate enough cards so that I could fill the rest of the net deck using only 1,000 dust, and I could build the spell hunter that way. So I guess it's not that expensive if you just want to make one good deck and get to legend, right? Using one good deck, you could do that free to play, I'm pretty sure. So what I was thinking before, so there's a lot of different people, right? There's the people who don't worry about winning. There's the people who want to win and are happy to spend money, and then there are the people who want to win but don't want to spend money. Q says, example, if you want to win at ranked, doesn't the feeling of losing at least 40% of the time outweigh the enjoyment of winning with a deck that's known to be good? Well, that depends on the person again, Q. I mean, for me, I can't really be bothered to grind. So I guess I would agree with that. Like I can't be bothered grinding, I don't know, 40 hours to get the legend. But there are plenty of grinders. Yeah, there are plenty of people who grind to legend every season. Well, plenty. Aren't there like thousands? Like more than 1,000 every season. Because that's why I was asking. I don't understand Hearthstone. I think Hearthstone runs a very fine line between what is acceptable and what's not. Q. I think Blizzard are very good at math, and they're cutting a very fine line between how much money they can make off you just before they turn people off, right? Like how much money can they squeeze out of you before you really stop playing? And I think they just adjust those numbers until they maximize their profit. Q says, well, I imagine Magic will be a total non-starter. Yeah, no, Magic is a total non-start for me. But again, I've seen people who are happy to put thousands of dollars into Magic every year, which it doesn't make sense to me, but you know, if you're happy to do it, and then I guess, you know, it's your money, right? It's your thousands. Q says, but then I don't like competitive gaming, right? Right, I'm also not a competitive person by nature, and so I'm not gonna spend money to win, right? I might spend money to have fun. I'm not gonna spend money to win. But again, I'm pretty sure it does vary from person to person. I think Hearthstone is an example of this being done quite well. I've played Art of Conquest on the phone for a while. I don't know if you've heard of this game. It's a free-to-play, pay-to-win strategy game for mobiles. And to be honest, I got stuck on a server with a really bad person. So it's not even just the game. I imagine if I found myself on a server without this particular person, it'll be fine. But this particular person spent tens of thousands of dollars. It's a pay-to-win game. Basically, he spent so many, like I think over 100,000 by now. He spent so much money, so much more than everyone else that nobody can touch him, basically. And he's also an asshole. And he gets bored. And whenever he gets bored, he just starts punching people with all his money. So he's basically a bad person. And I have like dabbled in other there's a number of servers, there's a lot of servers. So some servers don't have massive whales like this guy, and they are a lot more tolerable for free-to-play players. I think I just got stuck on a bad server with one bad person. But I think he reveals just how negative the game is, because the game makes you spend more money to keep up with other people, because it's pay to win. The more money you spend, the harder it is for other people to do any damage to you. And to the extent that, like a higher level player, a lower level player simply cannot do any damage to a higher level player once the gap is big enough. And so the whole business model is to make you spend more money to keep up, right? And so this guy spends tens of thousands of dollars, and of course nobody can keep up with him. So it's I mean, this is what like this informs my speculations about games able to make a lot of money out of negative feelings.